Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. And our top story today, how long should you wait before you file your taxes? Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Medora Lee is a personal finance journalist with USA Today. Well, Medora, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm excited, and look, we're talking taxes, and it's tax season, and you have written extensively about tax season. Let's just start off with some basics here, right? When does tax season? When are taxes due typically for most Americans?
So this year we get a few extra days. They're typically due April 15th, but we get a couple extra days because of the way the calendar lies. So we will have till April 18th, midnight. Your taxes have to be, well, I guess people don't really do this anymore. Go to the post office and stand in line. They have to be postmarked by midnight.
And you bring up a really good point. There's a couple different methods now that you can use. I know we're going to talk about delaying the filing, but let's just talk about some basics here because you can now file electronically. You can do, as you say, I still like the postmark and the certified just to make sure it gets there. But there are several methods now to file your taxes.
There are. You can still print out your taxes or go, I guess you could go to maybe the library still has forms you can pick up and fill them out by hand and go stand in line, put them in a big envelope and go stand in line and get it postmarked and get that receipt. Or you can hire a tax preparer where you just bring your box of goodies to your tax preparer. They go through it and they put it into the system and file it off for you. Or you can go online and do it yourself these days. There's tons of software out there. Even some of the IRS has some free file if you meet certain qualifications. And then there are also, a lot of people don't know this, but there are also a lot of organizations that have these like tax days. You can bring your box of stuff and they can help you file there too.
Yeah, I like that you described it, Medora, as a box of goodies, because you need to bring several pieces of information with you, right? I mean, you need to bring perhaps your W-2 or a list of 1099s. You have to bring all this material with you. Now, I know you wrote a piece it's a couple of weeks ago, but I want to talk about there may be some advantages to delaying filing your taxes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
There are, this was, when I wrote this story, this was actually news to me, that there are actually times that people either can't file their taxes on time or they could benefit from waiting. And so I was kind of intrigued by this. And one of them, it actually just started with the FTX losses, that big cryptocurrency scam.
Yes, yeah, unfortunately for a lot of people, yeah.
So I kind of thought, oh, wow, people, how are they going to file their taxes? They don't really even know the outcome of it. They don't know if they're going to be able to recover anything, and maybe not even for a while. So a lot of accountants were telling their clients, hold off. The best thing you could do is hold off and wait, file an extension right away, give it a few more months, and maybe we can get some clarity. And so that's kind of where this whole idea of, maybe there are other times we should think about filing later. And so I talked to some people, and there are. I didn't know this because I thought by law, you should have all of your tax forms sent to you, by all the tax documents sent to you, so you have time to do your taxes right. I was very surprised to learn that not every piece of documentation that you need to file your taxes actually is required by law to get to you before the tax deadline. So those are some really good reasons probably to wait, because you probably need some of those documents.
And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say, for example, if you have a K1 or, or you said, you mentioned FTX or some other circumstance that requires a special valuation, all of those lend themselves to potentially delaying your submission. Last question before we go to a commercial break. In terms of getting that extension, can anyone just prepare that, or does a tax preparer physically have to prepare that for you and then it would be sent to the IRS on your behalf?
No, anybody can get the form from the IRS website to request an extension. The best thing though is, just because you've filed for an extension, this is important to know, is you should probably kind of have an estimate of what you might owe and try to send a payment in, because filing an extension to file your taxes doesn't mean that you automatically get more time to pay. So you might want to make an estimate, a rough estimate, and send a payment in.
That's a really good point. Well, Medora, I need to take a very quick break. We come back, we'll talk more about tax preparation in 2023. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're joined this morning by Medora Lee. She's a personal finance journalist for USA Today. Well, Medora, thank you so much for staying with us. Really appreciate you hanging around for segment number 2 this morning.
This is great. Thank you.
Yeah, this is fun. And look, I never thought taxes could be so fun, but look, it's a requirement. Medora, if you don't file your taxes, what, they put you in jail, right? I mean, that is a jailable offense.
Well, they may not put you in jail right away. They might give you a chance to confess and pay up and file your taxes first and collect, and then they'll collect all the penalties and interest. They'd rather you do that than put you in jail, I think.
Yeah, right. Because jail probably costs more than trying to make you comply. All right, I don't know. I knock on wood, I've always filed my taxes on time. And if the IRS is watching, I plan to file them on April 18th. Okay, electronically, of course, unless I get a refund, in which case I might file it a little bit early. Let's talk about maybe, you know, we've lived through the pandemic in 2020, 2021. Some people received payments, supported payments from either the federal or state governments. But let's talk about maybe what to expect. Maybe those refunds may not be as high as they had been in the past.
This is true. Even before tax season opened, the IRS was already warning people, do not expect your refund to be as great as they have been recently, like last year, because a lot of the pandemic stimulus has now expired. And some of the deductions have reverted back. A big example is the child tax credit. So that was beefed up during the pandemic. You could even get an advance on it, and that is no more.
Yeah, really, really important to know on what you're going to be taxed. And also, Medora, it varies, as you said, by state. I mean, there's some states that, you know, we're talking about federal taxes mainly, but there are state taxes that many states require you to pay as well.
Yeah, the state taxes really, the pandemic has made the state taxes incredibly complicated. I mean, there are just so many combinations and permutations that I can't even get into it. My biggest recommendation is you need, especially if you decided that you enjoyed working from home and working remotely and working on a beach instead of freezing Chicago in winter. You know, these are things that could potentially catch you off guard. And so you need to look at your state tax laws from the state where you are supposed to be working, where your office was pre-pandemic, and where you are now, because there are certain states in the country that will tax you no matter where you are, even if you've never set foot in the state for the past year. But if your office was there, they're going to tax your income anyway. And then you're going to be really unhappy to find out that where you are actually working is going to tax you too. So you could potentially see some double taxation. I mean, it might not happen. The chances are probably slim this will happen to you, but just to be sure, you should. And then, you know, it's something else to know is that some states will allow you to take a credit for the taxes that you paid. So you need to know that. And then in that case, you might have to file 2 state tax forms. One's the non-resident one and one's a resident one. And, you know, in some states, you might be lucky and the 2 states love each other. They work together and they will just allow your employer to change where your taxes should be taken from. So it's really important.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, I was just acknowledging, and I lived in New Jersey, but worked in Manhattan. There's that reciprocity that exists, I think, between New York and New Jersey. That's a perfect example of what you're talking about. And I have to be honest, I mean, I could not figure that out on my own. I tried hard. I mean, at the time I was single. I tried to do it on myself, and I'm like, heck, I can't figure this all out. So I made sure that I got a professional to help me with it.
Yeah, definitely. It can the state taxes can get extremely complicated, but you know, during the pandemic, I think some of the states waived this kind of thing to make it easier for people. But that's, again, another pandemic thing that's expired. And now the states really want their money.
Yeah. I think that's an understatement. I mean, everywhere you talk, everywhere you look in the press, there are budget shortages, whether it's the federal government or state government. And that's why it's always important to pay your taxes on time. You don't want them coming after you to garnish your wages. Last question, Medora, estimated taxes. This is something that I think people probably miss, is that you may need to file estimated taxes. If you don't, there's actually a penalty if you don't file them on time. And usually it's, I think, quarterly.
That is true. If you don't have a company that takes taxes out of your regular paycheck, you have to remember every quarter to file estimated taxes. So basically you kind of take a look at what you earned that quarter, you do some calculation, and it'll tell you roughly how much you owe from that quarter. And then you have to mail that in. And like you said, there are penalties if you don't get it in on time. And I think they also charge you interest possibly. So you don't want to mess with that. That's pretty important, especially a lot of people started their own businesses or have side gigs during the pandemic or even maybe now. So those are really important things to know.
Yep, there's the revenue aspect of it, and then there's the taxation aspect of it. And look, if you're new to the side gig, the side hustle, as they say, if you're a Gen Z or millennial, you may not be familiar with these things, but it's very important to get your taxes done on time and in the right way, or else, hey, IRS could be knocking on the door to beat down your door.
There's an interesting story about those estimated taxes. I don't know if you remember, there was one year, I think during the pandemic, was it last year or 2 years ago, that they had extended the deadline for filing taxes, but they did not extend the estimated taxes payments. And businesses were really upset by this. And the IRS, the reason why they didn't is because we have what you call a pay-as-you-go system, which is as you earn money, you pay the taxes, right? And so they said that if they delayed the estimated taxes, that's unfair to everybody else who has already been paying as they, with every paycheck. And so I think that businesses lost that year, that argument, but there was a lot of brouhaha because I think it was like one of these pandemic confusing tax seasons or something like that.
Yeah, well, look, I think there's a tax code, I think it's probably this high, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it is, someone would have to translate it for me because I would never be able to figure it all out. Well, Medora, really appreciate you joining us on the program this morning. And look, we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
I would love that.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news in lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content, we'll visit our website, and of course, our over 300 streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives.
I'm a divorced single mom, and my ex-husband left me and the kids with a lot of unpaid bills, including unpaid taxes. I was really starting to show my stress on my kids because the IRS had sent me a letter demanding a huge payment from me. I couldn't afford it. So then the IRS was threatening to garnish my wages. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That would have put me over the edge financially.
It truly seemed hopeless, but then a friend at work told her to call the tax relief line.
The people at the tax relief line, they told me about something called innocent spouse relief. They worked it out so that all of the taxes from my ex are not my problem. I don't know how that works, and I don't care. All I care about is that I don't owe the IRS a dime, and they are not going to take my paycheck.
Even if it seems hopeless, you should call the number on your screen right now. There is absolutely no cost for the call or the consultation. You are under no obligation. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.